everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Steel City Insider podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremy Ritz, alongside publisher of Steel City Insider, Jim Wexell. Jim, great to see you today.
Hi, Jeremy. I'm feeling better and better, and it was pretty cool to be at rookie minicamp, even though I didn't do anything. There's a lot we can talk about. Don't go away. Don't click off your TVs. It's a walkthrough. So take what a lot of the reporters, not me, of course, I'll give you the straight stuff. I can tell if a player's a player just want to walk through, but take some of it with a grain of salt. It was just two walkthroughs that we watched in the media. I didn't see a ball in the air. Maybe I came a little late for warm-ups, quarterbacks throwing. I did not. We all wanted to see Will Howard throw, right? We have information, though.
And there's quite a bit of that. But before we jump in there, Jim, we got to start with the trade. George Pickens, for the longest time, it was rumored that he'd be shipped off somewhere. He was sent to Dallas. The Steelers acquired another pick in the third round. And you wrote about football justice in regards to this trade and the whole question of, did this team get better? Did the wide receiver group get better? Addition via subtraction.
All right, let me give you a little background on that story. I was reading a book called The Ancient Wisdom of Baseball. I had gotten my dad the Roberto Clemente biography by David Moranis because I wanted to read it. So I got it for him, and geez, he already had it. It's an older book. Oh, good, I get to read this. And it's fantastic. David Moranis is a fantastic writer. But anyway, I had to go get him another one. I got him The Ancient Wisdom of Baseball, and he read it, and the guy uses history and Greek philosophy, and it's really good. And I came across a passage about, he compared everything to baseball. And so when he started saying, what is justice? It's one of the cardinal virtues of the Greeks. It's the fourth one and the most difficult to define. And I thought of Tomlin, his football justice. And I'm like, I can make a column out of this because I had waited to write the Omar Khan press conference because everybody rushes to get this stuff out. It's all the same. Mm-hmm. I know you want to be first. So I like to sleep on it and let it marinate and get something different. And also, sometimes you get more information if you wait. So I came across football justice and I wrote about that. Now, did the Steelers get football justice? We won't know until they play the games, right?
Yeah.
So it was a lot of column about nothing, but I did talk about Omar Khan and whether the Steelers made the right move and also some of the behind the scenes info I'm hearing and things like that. But anyway, back to the Ancient Wisdom of Baseball, I put it behind a paywall, right? And the author of that book read it somehow. And he was delirious on Twitter. He says, I nailed it. He goes, I used it for baseball. You used it for football and reporting, and you nailed it. It's right on. Well, I just got lucky, man. So we passed it, and we have many things in common. Me and this philosopher, he's a professor somewhere, but he's younger than me. And he has a daughter about the same age as me. And I tried to make my daughter a Cubs fan. No. I have a picture of her crying with a Cubs fan at Wrigley Field as a 1-year-old, crying. She's a Pirates fan. She don't want any of this Wrigley Field stuff. She don't care about Wrigley Field. Take me home. Anyway, back to your question, which was what?
First of all, I got to put this in here because in talking about philosophy, Jim, I think you're like the philosopher beat writer of the Steelers. Like that's a good descriptor of you.
You know, what's funny. I think about this all the time. I go on podcasts, especially there's a local, I live in Irwin, PA, and I grew up after I was born in Chicago, made my way to Pittsburgh in the 8th grade, Irwin, PA, and I've been here ever since. I take care of my parents. They live here. And someone asked me about getting a job at the Irwin paper, working for Vic Ketchman. And I was an English writing major at Pitt Greensburg. Vic brought me in for an interview. He goes, oh, you're one of those Pitt guys. He goes, you know what? I don't want to read any of that English writing shit. I want journalism. Who, what, where, when, why.
Yeah.
My English writing comes out every now and then. I think it helps in books and magazines when you write longer. It doesn't help in columns where people are like, where are you going with this? Give me the information. I think of Vic Ketchman then. But my English writing comes out, it came out in that. Whether I'm a philosopher or not, I give attribution to people that give me information, and that author. I synthesized what he synthesized from Socrates. So you'd call me a philosopher.
I was reading your columns. I made note here, and we'll get to the question here in a second, but Ooze's leadership and effervescence, describing some of the rookies. We'll talk about that here.
Oh, that's Caleb Johnson. That's not philosophy there. Effervescence is a great word, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So we got to keep them waiting, though. Let's hit this.
Okay.
So Khan did say that they feel good about the wide receiver position. That's why they felt comfortable with this trade. Do you believe that they truly do feel that way, that they are confident in what they have with DK Metcalf, Roman Wilson being healthy, and then Woods signing? Do you think they feel comfortable with this room? Are they going to add to it, or is this just the company line?
I think he feels comfortable to a degree. I think we were hitting him with questions about that illuminated why they didn't make this trade before the draft. Well, my big thing is because I have been told they couldn't get anything more than a fourth rounder. Omar was saying it was a lot of, what did he say, hypotheticals. And I could imagine, and I've read that Dallas really wanted the big guy from Arizona, McMillan. I know you're not going to be able to pronounce his name, but they wanted him with the 12th pick and they didn't get him. So I assume that was the hypothetical. Okay. If we don't get him, we'll give you fourth or fifth or whatever. And so Omar wasn't real clear on what was offered, but I've been told they didn't offer more than a fourth. And after the draft, when nobody cares about next year's pick, they've got coaches that get fired every year, right? They don't care about next year's draft. They want the players more valuable right now. And that's why Chase Claypool brought a second-round pick, and why San Antonio Holmes got a fifth-round pick, and AB brought a third-round pick, and Pickens couldn't even get a third-round pick. So why didn't you draft a receiver then? And my understanding is the guys they drafted, the first 5 guys, were so clearly up on their board, and they're salivating. They love their draft, and they had a couple needs, and it meshed with these players, and that's always nice. But they weren't going to reach for a need. And also, I think he's saying our wide receiver room is good enough not to have drafted a fourth-round wide receiver. That's my take. Because there are some guys out there. And then later he talked about there was a pool of guys out there that like signed Keenan Allen. Everybody says, yeah, he was lying about his room. I think my point is, what I read through Omar that day is our room's good enough not to have reached for a wide receiver in the draft.
Yeah. And I think there's some optimism too surrounding Wilson. Last year was a redshirt year, if you will, and that maybe the expectations that they have for him coming in, he'll be able to live up to them, having a year under his belt. But that's definitely
some guys I really respect, liked watching him in practice late in the year. Can't say I really watched him in practice. And if I did, I can't say I know as much as those guys I was talking to. So I'll trust a lot of the positive buzz that's coming out about how he practiced late in the year.
All right. Speaking of positive buzz, let's shift over here to...
You're going to give me some positive buzz. Let's go, man.
All right. Hey, in reading through some of these names that you're talking about, people that caught your attention, let's start on the defensive side of the ball. And I mentioned how you were a wordsmith in these columns. So to stick with that philosopher wordsmith.
I got lucky. That doesn't always happen.
But number 33 and that legendary associations with that number, let's start there. And this individual who's his leadership. Why don't you start there with the defensive rookies?
You want me to go to the guy that is the leadership? Well, the big men are impressive. Derek Harmon. I don't know that he's anything except I don't think he likes me very much yet. This is the second time I asked him about his injured shoulder. And I know that after the press conference, he looked at me again later. So he marked me, but I could take that from defensive linemen. You got from defensive linemen, right? You want a guy with an edge, right? EA, on the other hand, is bigger, might even be stronger. It's hard to say, but man, he really pounds that sled. He is a gentle giant. Maybe that's why he went in the 5th round. Maybe he doesn't have the edge. Like I wrote, I don't think anybody's ever said anything disrespectful to him his entire life except get your pads lower. He said, yeah, I hear that a lot. And he said it with a big smile. He didn't care.
Yeah.
But those two guys, they're pounding the sled with a nose tackle from BYU. And all I could think of was, I would bring in a nose tackle from BYU if I needed a nose tackle too. I don't always be on the lookout for the next Chris Hoke.
Oh, yeah.
And flanked by those two monsters. So that sled didn't stand a chance. So those two, I don't know what else I can say about them. Nobody's in pads. One has an edge, one's a gentle giant, but who is just really gigantic. And his hair goes straight up, so that adds another 4 inches.
What about just in terms of their physical size and stature, or like looking back over your past history with the team, do they look comparable in body size composition to any previous defensive linemen that have come through?
No, I've seen them all. And McCullers was a gigantic dude, but he was pudgy. He looked a little soft. He looked like he needed yelled at all the time. I'm not getting that from YA
Okay.
or Yaha, as you would call it.
Glad you clarified that one, because I
I'm
was
excited about YA. He's just so big and so strong. And now he's back with his dude, Logan Lee. People who watched tape were a little disappointed in him. They said he wasn't as good as he was the year before in Iowa. And I brought up the Iowa gang again, and he goes, yeah, Logan Lee, I can't wait to see him again. He saved my football life when I met him. And I know Logan Lee is a non-messing around dude. He's a classic disciplined wrestler. Takes everything seriously. Nice guy, don't get me wrong, but a very serious dude. Maybe that will inspire to his previous form back when he knew Logan before. I don't know, but don't count Logan Lee out of. I know that he wasn't a nose tackle, and he was really surprised when he played nose tackle in preseason last year. Maybe those are the plans for him, and maybe that's a future. He's a leverage. He's a technician. And so maybe they can get a charge out of Logan Lee being back with him.
Yeah.
And now the other guy that oozes leadership, Jack Sawyer, Captain Jack.
number 33.
33. Yeah. Yeah. Big 33. Every Super Bowl has had a guy who played in the Big 33 game. Now I don't know if he did. I don't know if it was PA versus Ohio. I've lost track of the high school game. But I do know Dante Kent was a member of the game that would have played, but was wiped out by COVID.
Yeah.
So that will still stand. The Steelers, when they reach the Super Bowl, they can say another Big 33 participant. Every Super Bowl that's ever been played has had a PA. Big 33 is a PA All-Star team, and they play Ohio or Maryland or whatever. You're aware of Big 33. So anyway, I don't know if that 33 has anything to do with it. He said he wanted to be 40 because that was a number he wore when he was younger all the time. When he got to Ohio State, but Hopalong Cassidy had it retired. It made me think of Troy Polamalu, who always wanted 41. And in high school, they said, we don't have 41. A senior's wearing it. Here's 43. And then when he became a senior, he wore 41. He goes to USC, and he goes, I want 41. And they go, somebody's wearing 41. Here's 43. By the time he went to the Steelers, he's giving me 43. It reminded me, Jack Sawyer's tribute to 33. He wanted 40, but he got 33. It's a family number. His dad wore it at the University of Findlay, at Roethlisberger's hometown. Jack is bigger than I expected, more athletic than I expected. And we all read about what a great leader he is, right? He has more leadership than I expected. It's not, I can just tell, it's not one of those forced leaders. He's just a natural. He's a natural leader. And you can just tell, just being around him and watching, it wasn't much. You could only watch mannerisms and characteristics. I could gauge, and he could drop into coverage very smooth. Like I said, when I watched him athletically on tape, not that quick, sudden burst, but very agile, nimble. He's not going to blaze to the quarterback, but he's an athlete. This is not just a big blocky run stuff. And the leadership, it oozes.
You caught my attention because when you wrote about him, you said that you can envision him as a foundational piece in this defense, which is pretty significant. say that.
because I see the athleticism. Now, that's what gives you, you can be the leader and you can be a special teams captain, right?
Yeah.
You can be a leader like TJ Watt, and because what you do on the field and how you prepare. And Sawyer is more outgoing, more extroverted, I can see right away than TJ is. But TJ leads by how he prepares, how he gets ready, how serious he takes everything. And then when he speaks, it means a lot. I could see Jack speaking quite a bit.
Okay. All right. And that brings us to, I got two more here that I wanted to bring up. Tell us about the lurker.
That's YA.
Oh.
YA might have a future in the media if he continues his smoothness and with that smile and with that cool hair he's got going.
I was referring to Sebastian Castro, who played a hybrid there between, and they referred to him. I think you said in your piece that they said he was playing like a lurker position.
He's an Islander.
I got you. Okay.
I asked him, I said, what kind of football player is Sebastian Castro? He's a lurker. He lurks and he will hit somebody. And he looked more athletic than I expected out of an undrafted free agent, right? He's got the size, but you look at him, and I didn't watch him sprint, but he looked like a mid-round draft pick.
Yeah.
He didn't look like an undrafted guy. After 31, this is my 31st year. After 30 years, you get a feel for, not that a mid-round draft pick has a lot to make the team, but you can see why guys are undrafted and why guys are mid-round guys and why they're late-round guys.
The last guy I wanted to talk about has those family ties and making the calls in rookie camp already. Pretty impressive for Carson Bruner.
Everything's impressive about Carson Bruner. He looks like a mid-round pick too. He's taller. He's 6'2". And he's got long legs too. I didn't get to ask him any questions. I got there late. I wanted to ask him my question. Sometimes I ask him cute questions to get him relaxed a little bit. I'm like, when will we not be allowed to ask about your dad? Rookie minicamp, you can ask all this kind of stuff if there's something bad that happened in the off season. The first day, don't hound these guys with this stuff. I have a feeling the Mark Bruder questions are going to run real thin with him soon enough. But so far, so good. But man, he's going to make his own niche. He looked very steady making the calls, like very confident. And I asked him, he says, I've been watching this defense since I was born. And so he gets it all. I don't know if some of that was just player speak. I don't know if he really gets it all, but he looked really comfortable. And I couldn't help but think of Larry Foote watching him. Larry Foote was a fourth rounder that we in the media saw some athletic weakness, and we kept asking, when are you going to replace Foote? I would say, replace Foote? No one's replacing Foote. I love Larry Foote.
Yeah.
And that came to pass soon enough. We all saw why. Now he's a coach somewhere. Yeah. Getting that feel with Carson Bruner. He's maybe a little taller than Larry was.
A position.
He's good in coverage too. I did want to say that. That's the kind of stuff we know he's a dog. He's a hitter. I was just reading Tony Pauline, and Tony Pauline was aghast that the Steelers got Carson Bruner in the 7th round.
Yeah. And he's cerebral too. And you often hear that middle linebacker position making the calls. That's the Mac, right? The Buck's not making the calls. It's the Mac.
Well, that's one thing I want to ask him too. Are they still delineating Buck and Mac? That seems to have died a little bit.
Okay.
The Buck always made the call.
Buck made the calls. Yeah. And that stood out to me in reading your piece. And if he's got the toughness and the coverage to go along with the smarts, that's quite
right. Well, what's the downside here? The downside is that they have 4 pretty solid inside linebackers already, maybe 5. He was killing people on special teams late last year, blowing people up on special teams.
I think he forced a few fumbles there too.
Yeah.
That'll be a fun fringe battle to watch, those two, for a roster spot, because I would think they're going to compete against each other.
I don't know that you're going to get rid of Mark Robinson. The last year of his contract, I believe it's the last year. It's still a rookie deal. He's blowing people up on special teams. I don't know that they're going to want to take him off special teams. He has core special teamer written on him, targeted for all this year. Hey, so does Carson Bruner.
Right.
Another position might take a loss. Who knows?
Yeah.
Logan Lee says, don't look at the defensive line, pal.
There's a lot to be excited about on the defensive side of the ball. let's shift over to the offense and let's hit on that effervescence again. You started talking about Caleb Johnson, but he really stood out to you just from a physical perspective.
Oh, my goodness. You saw the picture, right?
Yeah, he looks jacked.
You know my buddy Bo.
Yeah.
Bo was standing there. He's creeping up on 10,000 to run.
Wow.
By 2 Saturdays from now, he's having a big party. Yeah. Anyway, maybe we should have Bo on next week.
That would be awesome.
Honor him.
Yeah, I keep seeing his posts on Facebook as he's getting closer. Watching
Yeah.
far.
Yeah. It's an amazing feat. You bring Bo on, and we'll talk about it next week. But I walk in, and the first guy, they were running sprints, and they run up to the edge of the grass, the sidewalk where we're all standing. And I just walk in. I'm looking for a roster. I should have remembered 20 was Caleb Johnson, but I just look and I see this guy. He's cutting. It's not just big muscle, it's cutting. And he just came up and he pulled up and he was breathing heavy after a sprint. I said to Bo, who's 20? He goes, dude's a monster, isn't he? I forget exactly what he said. And he goes, that's Caleb Johnson. I go, okay, that makes sense, right?
Yeah. And you said that
20 isn't the greatest running back number.
I'm trying to recall number 20s from the Steelers.
Rocky.
Okay.
But there again, he wasn't the feature guy. This is a 17th round pick who was only kept because of his service to his country. And then he made it back. He kept his number.
Yeah.
It was like a giveaway. Franco gets 32, right?
Mm.
Jack gets 33. That's Frenchie Fuqua, Bam Morris, Merrill Hodge. The last 20 running back was
Baron Batch. Wow. There's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Eric.
Pegram. All right. I remember Pegram.
But see, not special, not the prime guy. I don't even really like 22. 26, Woodson made that famous, and Le'Veon Bell gave it some cachet, and now it's become, but it's still, get into the 30s.
Yeah. Shifting gears a bit, Jim, you talked about a guard that was with the Jaguars last year from Oregon.
Oh, yeah, Stephen Jones. The Steelers signed him to a futures contract. I called him Mr. Jones. He was walking past. He was given some equipment before he goes in the locker room. We can't follow him in the locker room like normal. This is different. I go, Mr. Jones, he's not a rookie, but he was invited to this. He goes, yeah. You got a second? And so I called him Mr. Jones because he's so big and he's so bad. I'm like, why do I know you for being strong? He goes, there was something that went viral, and I haven't looked it up yet. And I must have seen it last year, but I had him on the ass kickers list, an honorable mention. So he was the guy that stood out on the offensive line just for his size. Looked like an athlete. Again, walk through and not hitting anything. So you can't totally tell their strength unless they hit the sled.
Yeah.
And I only watched the defensive line hit the sled. But they signed a massive offensive lineman, Gareth Warren, signed him today. He wasn't on the starting 5 of the rookie offensive line. So I didn't pay any attention to him. He's 6'6", 333 he's a Hawaiian, but he went to school in Lindenwood. It's a small school in Missouri. Okay. So that's a guy to watch. I would doubt he's going to threaten any kind of, put him on the practice squad, develop him. Alejandro Villanueva developed that way.
And the reason why everybody has watched for the duration of this podcast, we have to say the most intriguing for last, and that's quarterback Will Howard. Any takeaways from the little that you got to see of him?
Man, I wanted to watch him throw.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, bobbled a couple shotgun snaps, had me wondering if he had rock hands or not. And then I saw one the next day, and he bobbled one again. But it was such a high, hard snap. And I thought, maybe he's just not getting good snaps. And I know he fumbled 8 times. I have no idea how many were in the shotgun, if any. And it's probably nothing to. But they didn't throw. He's barking out the signals. He gives great interviews. Big man. I didn't know he was. My comp for him was Andy Dalton. Just the way they threw and the way he moved. But he's taller. He's almost as tall and thick as Ben.
Oh, wow.
I wish I could tell you more about Will Howard. Jack Sawyer likes him a lot, and that's okay with me right now. I'm going to call him Mr. Sawyer. The first question I asked him, did you see his interception against Michigan? It was a 10-10 game. Michigan's driving. I don't know. They're at the 5 or something. and it's a fourth quarter. It's getting late. And he drops into coverage. Michigan quarterback throws a pick, and he picks it off, and he runs out. I don't know. He made it back to the 15 or something. He was 10. I couldn't help but think of James Harrison. I wanted to ask him, was he supposed to drop? Was this, how similar to Harrison was this? And so I wanted to get the first question in as the mob's coming and the TV cameras are coming and the internet YouTubers are coming. You ask a question, then you can't save it. So I'm like, Jack, I wanted to ask you about that pick against Michigan. I said, did you think of Harrison, James Harrison? Because I'm figuring now that he's in Pittsburgh. And I had heard him on YouTube talking about Harrison. He goes, no, not really. I go, were you supposed to drop? He goes, no, but I just read it. I dropped. I said, that's exactly what Harrison. He goes, oh, yeah, that's cool. That's right. I said, yeah, but Harrison brought it back. If you'd have brought yours back, you wouldn't have lost to that team from up north. I go, tell me about that Texas pick. What's the story behind that?
Yeah.
The strip sack. That was an 83-yard return. He returned the whole way. And that one was in the semifinals to get them into the finals.
Yeah.
And Texas was going in to tie the game right there, too. Huge play. So at least I left the interview on a good note there. It's like, why did you return that pick against Michigan 100 yards?
You already got an enemy in Harmon, right? You don't need another one. Oh, great stuff. Anything else as we wrap up here, Jim?
Caleb Johnson's going to be returning kickoffs, it looks like. I just think he's got it. And now it's going to be difficult for him to get that starting job from Warren because Warren, they trust him in pass pro. And Warren's going to start the season with the job and then see how things go. Warren's not the kind of guy who will get miffed and throw a fit if he's pulled from the starting lineup. If he sees Caleb Johnson's breaking run after run and you got to play him.
Yeah.
Warren will still get played. He'll get it, but he'll start the season as a starter. So I don't know that I bet any money on Caleb Johnson winning Rookie of the Year like he wants to. Without you asking me a direct question, I don't. Rock Taylor's an interesting looking wide receiver. He looks the part. He looked like he had an NFL body. He's an undrafted receiver, and you're looking for receivers. Stephen Jones, what I liked about him is that right guard position is still a little, there may be some depth issues there. So I like that they're playing him at right guard. Powerful.
Jim, you said at the outset that you didn't have much to share on the rookie minicamp, but I think viewers are going to be leaving here edified to.
All right, it's the wordsmith now. You called me a wordsmith, but I was talking to somebody the other day and there was a word I couldn't think of. I'm like, Alzheimer's. And they go, that's not a really good word to get stuck on. My buddy, the late, great Craig Wolfley, used to always worry about when he was having a memory lapse because he was always worried about all the headbutting he did as a player.
Yeah. It was great hearing you take us to school on rookie minicamp, Jim, and looking forward to doing this again. And we get the schedule this week. Hey, it's the NFL schedule release. One of my favorite times of the year.
Everybody's going to be talking about the schedule in 2 days. Hopefully we can get this up and going and we can give people 2 days of still fresh rookie information.
There we go. And you can identify those matchups, the Monday nighters, the Sunday. Hopefully they're not playing on the holidays this year, but that's something to be discussed for another time. But we want to thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe on your way out. Drop a comment. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you back here for another episode of Still City Insider Podcast. Jim, have a great week.